Welcome to the City of New Franklin Council meeting. We're going to start off with our committees. We've got a lot of first reads to go through. We'll start off with Resolution 24R70. Ms. Jones?
Thank you. A resolution authorizing New Franklin to apply for an FY 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant for the purchase of assorted equipment and services and declaring an emergency. And this is the total cost. This is for cardiac equipment, and it'd be funding the replacement of 4 cardiac monitors. And the total cost is $195,916. The grant preparation cost is $2,000, and the department's matching 5% would be $9,896. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we had these, ours are quite old.
12 years.
I'm looking for that, they're 12 years old. And so they really were in desperate need of these, and to get that much of a grant is wonderful. Does anyone have any comments on it?
So we haven't applied for the grant yet, correct?
No,
Yes,
this
we're
is
just applying
just
for it
permission
now.
to apply.
What are our chances of successfully getting the grant?
12 years ago, our current monitors were purchased through the grant
Okay.
program 12 years ago. So I mean, it's always a toss-up, but I'm going to say it's fairly high.
Good job. Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the life expectancy of our monitors if for some reason we don't get this grant? We've already got 12 years on them.
Well, we were advised when they did our PMs this fall on our monitors that our monitors, Physio Control will not support our monitors after 2025. So they're at the end of their life. Their life expectancy is supposed to be 10 years, but we've gotten 12 out of them. So
And what is the lead time to get these?
they said it could be 3 to 6 months, depending.
How long does it take to know whether we get the grant?
The grant, we applied for the grant closes December 20th, and then they start awarding usually around April or May.
And you think we stand a very good chance of getting them because ours are so old?
Because ours are so old and based off the fact that, 12 years ago, we got them on the same grant, so.
And because ours, after 2025, they will not be supported anymore.
Correct, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about waiving the 3?
Can we take your next year?
If you want me to, I'm going to go ahead and have you do it any way you want.
You're going to have them cover, just roll through your stuff and we'll go through the next.
All right. Submitted for Judy. Resolution number 24R74 is up for discussion. It is a resolution ratifying an amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Local 2885 of the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC, IAFF, Union, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, I'd be happy to speak to this. You know, you're going to ask. That's all I need. This and several other resolutions relate to our healthcare renewals, both our healthcare and our dental. It's always been a significant portion of our budget, and we've tried a variety of different approaches to healthcare. We've been self-insured. We tried reference-based pricing for a while, saved a little bit of money. Went back to fully insured with MedMutual a couple of years ago, knowing that the cost would go up. Last year it was they started with like a 30% increase, and our very able broker was able to get it down to 19% for last year. The numbers came in this year at a little bit over 37%. That wasn't a shock. When we negotiated the labor contracts, initially when we went to the table, we had some provisions we were suggesting for some modifications to the healthcare plan, in addition to the negotiations. Well, We finished all the negotiations before we addressed that, and with that in mind, all three unions included a reopener in the contracts. That if in fact our renewal came in at more than 10%, contract would be reopened. And at that time, and we've really been blessed to have the full cooperation of the healthcare committee that we've had in place for several years. That has representatives from all the departments, all the department heads, and all the unions. And over the years, we've talked about a variety of things. We've talked about spousal exclusions. We've talked about kicking up the deductibles. We've talked about a greater contribution from the employees for anybody who's covered by the plan to cover the premiums. Quite frankly, we thought all those things would be on the table. And lo and behold, our very able broker was able to obtain from us a proposal from SumaCare for a fully insured plan. Similar in virtually every regard as it relates to in-network coverage. We lose access to a couple networks, and we'll pick some up, but the most important part was that the increase was 4.8%. Now, this required a number of the provisions relative to healthcare are included in all three union contracts. And so this required some revision to those union contracts. Primarily as to the out-of-pocket, or the out-of-network coverage. And so we reopened and we met with all three unions. And once again, the rank and file were, first of all, the word I used when I saw the renewal was thrilled. And I will tell you that was what we got from the unions as well, that they were thrilled. They were prepared to discuss whatever it was going to take and to come in with really essentially the same coverage that they had all along in a fully insured plan. So without delay, all three unions agreed to the revisions necessary for us to adopt that plan. So you'll see there are three very similar resolutions, one for the police union, one for the fire union, and one for the Teamsters, the service union. And basically what it is, it's just an adoption of the city saying that we also agree to those amendments in the contract as it relates to those specific healthcare provisions. Later then you'll get on to the actual renewal with SUMA and the renewal with the dental. And I will preview that to tell you that we've been with Delta Dental, and we've got quotes from Sun Life Dental as well, and Delta, and I can't remember this. Chris will be able to tell you the Delta had a 9 or 10% increase.
No,
11% increase, and we were able to get essentially the same coverage from Sun Life at about 4%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a 27-month rate guarantee.
Yeah, rate guaranteed for 27 months. So actually, I think a little better plan there. So cover really all those at the same time. So you'll have a resolution relative to SumaCare, a resolution relative to Sun Life, and then these three resolutions relative to the unions.
That is super.
That's great. I'd like to nominate her for
Yeah.
something. That's urgent.
Oh, really? It's your turn.
I know the increases we've been facing, we're always having, so 5% is amazing. Well done on everybody, I know they worked hard on that. Any problem waiving the 3?
Yes.
So, shall I read the next resolution, Judy?
Yes, Greg, thank you so
Okay,
much.
so resolution 24R76 on behalf of Mrs. Jones. A resolution ratifying the amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, Patrol Corporal and Sergeant Lieutenant units in declaring an emergency. I believe this is what we just spoke of, right? For the
Yes.
police. Okay. Any questions? Are we okay waiving the 3?
Yes.
Safety committee?
Yes, we're going to close safety committee at 6:07, I should say.
Next, we're going to move on to the finance committee. Mr. Cox?
Thank you. We will open the Finance Committee at 6:09, starting out with Resolution 24R71. It's the first time we're hearing about this, a resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into agreement with Sun Life, whoever they are, for New Franklin's health insurance plan. with Cornerstone Benefit Services as broker and declaring an emergency. And as was mentioned before, this is for 27 months, guaranteed rate increase of about 4%. And we've been using Sun Life for a number of years for our optional life and eye care. With that, the new program with SUMA, that includes the eye care? Did I read that?
SUMA has an eye care discount program, but it's not insurance.
Okay,
So if you want the true insurance, you can stay on the voluntary life with Sun Life.
okay,
But employees certainly have the option of changing that moving forward.
okay. And that comes up for renewal in first quarter
April.
next, in April.
April 1st, yes.
Okay. And with Delta Dental, and I'm sure the healthcare committee has gone through all of this already, so why I'm asking questions, I have no idea, because they do a wonderful job looking through everything. But Delta Dental seem to have a very wide range of providers or people with white coats. Is that true with Sun Life?
Sun Life has a robust network as well, and they did provide a comparison. You may not find the exact same dentist in Sun Life that you find in Delta, but there are a number of dentists available in Sun Life. So you're not losing numbers of dentists, you may lose a specific dentist.
Okay.
And we started to lose some anyway through Delta. I know my local
That is
dentist
true.
is no longer covered under Delta.
A couple other people in the
Yeah.
healthcare committee said their dentist had left Delta.
Okay. Super. Anybody have questions about this program? I'm comfortable. Is everybody comfortable waiving 3 on this?
Yes.
All right, then we will ask to waive the 3 on this. Next, we have, Resolution 24R73, a resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into agreement with SumaCare for New Franklin's health insurance plan with Cornerstone Benefit Services as broker and declaring an emergency. And again, we've already gone through this, and I don't have any other questions. All my questions have been answered already. Other questions? Yeah, I know. I'm disappointed in myself.
I am too.
Again, I want to, just as the mayor mentioned, thank the healthcare committee. I think this is fantastic that we do this, that we bring in people from all departments, so they all have a say, they all have a voice in what we're doing, and making good decisions for the city and just being a part of that process. I think it's fantastic. Like the mayor said, we've been doing it for a number of years, and I think it's been working out great. So I thank every member that's on that. Comfortable waiving 3?
Yes.
Thank you. We will move on to whatever I might find. Let's see. Resolution 24R78, a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring an emergency. Again, this is something that we do on quite a regular basis, moving from the general fund to the police district fund, and this time to be an amount of $200,000. Questions, comments? Waive 3.
I just think it's fair noting that this isn't an additional $200,000 to what they originally budgeted. This is just a portion of the original budgeted amount.
Yes, and this is actually the last piece of that year's budget amount, of
What?
this year's budget amount.
In November?
I know!
It's fantastic. So we'll waive 3 on that?
Yes.
All right, and moving on, we will go to resolution, oh, I got a lot, I didn't realize that was so much. Resolution 24R79, a resolution approving and adopting the 2025 annual operating appropriation budget for the general fund and all other funds for the city of New Franklin, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. I'll be the first to admit, I have not had a chance to go through this. I'm sure all the rest of you have, and I feel bad that I haven't.
You gotta get with it.
I know. Questions, comments about it? For those of you that have gone through it?
I know Barry Devin and myself have sat through the budget meeting, so we're familiar with what's in there, but if any of you guys have questions, we'd be more than happy to talk with you and answer those.
Okay.
And you do have extra meetings to go over it, you don't have to pass it today.
That's true. Any other questions, comments? Comfortable with taking time on this? And just if anybody has any questions from the public or anything, questions about it, we can give them that opportunity. So we will ask to take time. And then we move on to second reading, a resolution continuing the appointment of Irving Sugarman as New Franklin's Law Director and setting compensation and declaring an emergency. We had this at the last meeting. And we took time on it. There were some questions about it. This resolution, again, as we talked about at the last meeting, is just basically allowing us to pay for the services. There are a lot of discussions about how we want to move forward with the law director position. But this resolution really doesn't have anything to do with that. That's a whole separate subject, I think, that we can explore. But this, again, just allows us to continue paying the bill because it's going from one business to another since they merged or came together. Does anybody have questions or comments about this resolution now?
When will be, I can't remember a great date, but when will be the next time? So you said this is not the time to talk about the changing of a position or something like that. When will be that time for that discussion again? When is this contract? Because it had no date on, correct?
Right. I would think that conversation can happen anytime.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about this resolution. Yeah. And I think, again, it's a conversation that we should have and need to have. So when, we could do really anytime we could do that.
And this contract has no expiration date in it, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Anytime you could have that
Yeah.
conversation done.
I was just saying, I stated like I knew it has no expiration date.
Okay. Comments, questions with this resolution? Comfortable waiving the third reading? All right, we will ask to waive the third on this. And let's see, wait a minute, wait for it. No, it's not me. All right, we will close the Finance Committee meeting at 6:17. Thank you for attending.
All right, next committee is going to be Community Development Committee. Gary?
We'll open the Community Development Committee at 6:17. We have resolution 24-R-72. Resolution to contract with the GPD Group as engineers for New Franklin for 2025 and 2026, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with GPD Group for engineering services and declaring an emergency. Mr. Mayor, you want to speak on this?
Yes, please. These are 2-year agreements. We've been in 2-year agreements with them. We don't have an in-house city engineer. We utilize the services of Kevin Noble from Sheezer Buckley and have for a number of years on basically planning things, planning issues, watershed issues, those types of things. He also has submitted his proposal for a renewal. You'll see that at the next meeting. Meanwhile, GPD and OHM, they're both doing a good job for us in different types of relative different needs. A lot of our paving and a lot of what we're doing with with our federal grant work is going through OHM. A lot of the construction stuff, the last bridge and this bridge went through GPD. So by designating them as our city engineers, we're authorized then to use them as we see fit. There is a cap on the GPD at $25,000 per year, and a cap at $12,500 for OHM. And then if they have, if they're special projects we want to engage them on, we would retain them on a separate basis. Recently, we did that with OHM and brought them in to assist us in the 2 federal grants that we have. So, and it's about a 3%. GPD or OHM was exactly a 3% increase. And GPD is just about in line with that same number. So it's kind of standard, I guess, for the industry as far as the rates. And each of these would be a 2-year agreement. Both of them are terminable if for any reason we wanted to, by either side.
Any questions, comments?
That's a specific, pay-as-you-go thing, right? We don't pay them anything unless we decide we want to see the project, right?
Exactly.
We good with waiting 3? All right, we'll move to resolution 24-R-75, resolution to contract OHM Advisors as engineers for New Franklin for 2025 and 2026, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with ONH Advisors and Engineering Services in declaring an emergency. Mayor just kind of touched on that. Any comments or questions on that? Everybody want to wait to 3? With that, we will close the community development committee at 6 o'clock.
All right, our last committee meeting is going to be the Streets and Drainage Committee. Mr. Longman?
Thank you. We'll open up the Streets and Drainage Committee at 6:20 p.m., starting off with resolution number 24R-77. Something we haven't talked about yet, a resolution ratifying an amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Local 348 of the Teamsters Union and declaring an emergency. Just like the mayor said, this is the healthcare and dental renewals that we usually have. I'd really like to thank our healthcare committee. They really came in, really good with the student care and everything. I'd like to congratulate them as well. I think every committee here has congratulated them so far, which is nice to hear. Does anybody have any questions or comments upon this resolution? Perfect. We'll move on to resolution number 24R-80, a resolution awarding a bid to Cargo Companies Incorporated for the City of New Franklin Grill Road Bridge Project and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage. I'd like to say that this had 2 bids on it from the Cargo Company Incorporated and the Shelley Sands Incorporated. Cargo came in at $498,436.68. Shelley came in about $42,000 above that at $450,919.66. 5, yeah. Thank you for catching me there. And we deemed it was better to go with Cargo. Does the mayor have anything to do with that?
Yes, yeah, and then we discussed that with GPD. We had engaged them to assist us with the bidding. Had conversations with their offices. Brian and I discussed it as well. It's over the engineer's estimate. I think the engineer's estimate was somewhere around $450,000. It deviated enough that we could have gone back out to bidding. The engineer's estimate did not include a contingency. And so if you figure the contingency in the engineer's estimate, you're probably pretty close to these numbers. But on further discussion, there was no reason to expect that we'd get a better bid if we bid it back out. We only had 2 people bid on this one at this point. And much better chance that we'd see a higher bid. And so with that, we got this in last Friday. We had those discussions over the weekend and at the beginning of this week, and that's why you're getting this late, because that being the case, we want to go ahead and get Cargo on board and keep moving on the Grove Road Bridge, which at present is still open. It's at a load limit reduction, and we're hopeful that we can get that replaced before we have to get into a full closure. So this is something we would expect to do in calendar year 2025. This is an 80-20. So we have grant money for 80% of this.
Any other questions or comments? Comfortable waiving the 3 on this one and 24R-77, which I didn't ask about? So for both of them? Sounds good. We'll close by committee at 6:23 p.m.
All right, I believe that ends our committees. Before we start into our regular meeting, we're going to do our Citizen of the Month. Ms. Jones, would you like to take this?
I would love to, thank you. Our Citizen of the Month is Judy Williams. Very, very little I can say that isn't good about Judy Williams, I'm going to tell you. But I want to read a few things. Judy Foldry Williams moved to Manchester when she was 3 years old, and she's lived here most of her life. Judy's always been very involved in her community. When she was in 5th grade, she and her friend Pam Milburn, and they're probably still friends to this day, decided it wasn't fair that girls didn't have an organized sports So they got together and organized 4 teams of local girls and then located sponsors and coaches. She continued to be active in high school, starting the Youth for Christ program, which met weekly, bringing Christian students together, was a member of the National Honor Society, and an active member of planning class reunions for the past 60 years. She taught Sunday school to preschoolers at what is now Grace Bible Church, and is still an active member and on the women's ministry. Judy worked at AT&T for 11 years, where she was executive secretary, planning Red Cross blood drives and United Way campaigns. She organized and ran a women's softball league and a women's volleyball league. She quit when her second daughter was born. She and her friends ran 2 years of Safety Town and was very active in Nolly Middle School and High School as president of PTA for each school. After graduating from high school, she remained active in the Manchester area. She became involved in Twigs, which made crafts, and volunteered to assemble them at Acton Children's Hospital with young patients. She became a founding member of the Manchester Alumni Association, where she has helped to plan the tailgate, the reverse raffle, and the Distinguished Alumni Awards to provide scholarships. Judy was the bookkeeper at Manchester Hardware for 25 years. She is on the Tudor House Commission as the event chairman planner, planning activities such as Sail into Summer, the 4th of July, the barbecue, the Oktoberfest, and the Christmas open house, all of which are attended by thousands of community members. And she ran a monthly youth brigade for 5 years. She was a member of the New Franklin Comprehensive Study, working on the future of New Franklin and on the 2024 Charter Commission review. As people asked for a farmer's market during the comprehensive study, Judy initiated a committee to organize the farmer's market that ran this past summer and will run again next year. The love of her life is her family. She has 3 daughters, all of whom graduated from Manchester. She has 7 stepchildren, 26 grandchildren, 2 of whom graduated from Manchester, 16 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild.
Wow.
A lot of babies. She attends many sporting events, plays, concerts, and events supporting their young lives and encouraging them to participate, stay active, and be an asset to their communities. Do you realize how great that is? I mean, think about it, how many people you touch. I'd like for you to come up. I'm going to present you with this certificate as our Citizen of the Month. I was plugged in. No, Christine.
You know, I'm not gonna let you get away without offering a comment or two, and then we're gonna ask you to
We're going to
speak.
ask you questions.
But as you're reading all this, I knew a lot of this, and there's a lot of it I didn't even know.
She's
And some of
not
the
late,
early
it's really
history.
broadcast.
This is, you guys know, this is a cornerstone of this community. And there's not many like this, and that's not to diminish anybody else. But when you see, and quiet and humble, and if it's happening out there and it's being done effectively, you look behind the scenes, you look along the back, and there'll be Judy. It doesn't really matter what, whether it's a schools, whether it's a city, whether it's a Tudor house, whether it's a farmer's market, whether it's Grace Church. These are the people that make this community that it is, and the longevity of it, and the beauty of it. And this is the ones that all of us try to work so hard for.
And free speech, we all want to give you a hand. And
Yeah.
say thank you.
She's been on the Tudor House Commission forever, and is still on that commission, and she's doing so much with the events. And here's Judy. I'll kind of duck in. We're getting close to the. I said, Judy, how we doing? We got volunteers. I said, Paul, it's him. Just quietly. That's what she does. All right, Judy. So please share some thoughts with us.
Did you want to know something?
I know you did. No, just say what's in your heart. It's always wonderful to hear from you.
Thank you for this honor. It's very special. God God has given me the good health and the ability to be able to do a lot of things in the community. And growing up, my dad always encouraged me to be involved. He was involved and he said, you make your community by what you do in it. And that's important for all of us to do, to be parts of where we live and to keep it important. But most of all, important to me is my family. My 3 girls are here, and my best friend, and they've supported me through all my endeavors throughout the year, and I can always count on them to help me. I really appreciate it. We appreciate you.
Do you want to tell us your daughter's name?
Hey, can we get her family up here?
Yeah.
Not the family up here, let's get a family
She's
picture.
getting
Okay?
pictures.
Come on, get the family up here. Come on, get up here, have a picture of the family. You guys didn't dress for the camera, but it's okay, you all look good. Doesn't matter.
You guys miss what Paul you take?
Thanks. Come on, Carol, your family. Do you want me to introduce? No,
In a
it's
minute.
okay.
All right, come on.
Okay.
All right, let me get one of these.
Yeah, we need it, why?
I'm going anywhere. All right, I think I'm good. Go ahead and introduce them.
Okay, on the end is my friend Carol Ray. This is my grandson, Ryan JP, who went to Manchester. This is my daughter, my oldest daughter, Chris, and her husband, Steve. Chris graduated from Manchester. This is my daughter, Missy. She was my youngest. She graduated from Manchester. This is Jenny Bobtack and her son, Alex. So that's part of my grandkids, all my girls. Thank you.
Just go to these. Just go to the legs.
I did. Now, I did do it. I didn't do one. Oh,
Then we'll let Krista go, she has another meeting to go to. You guys, got any other questions for her?
thank you for what you did, Crystal.
All right, now we're going to call to order the City of New Franklin Council meeting. One minute pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Cox?
Present.
Mr. Schaefer?
Present.
Mrs. Jones?
present.
Mr. Powell?
Present.
Mr. Stiles?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Mr. Almond?
Present.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for the regular scheduled meeting on November 6th.
Second.
Probably got a first and a second.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the financials for October of 2024, subject to audit?
Second.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
All right, next we're into public comments. Please keep your comments addressed to council under 4 minutes, and if you would state your name and your address. Anybody have anything you'd like to say? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Move on to our consent agenda for first readings. Resolution 24R70, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to apply for an FY 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant for the purchase of assorted equipment and services and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution 24R70. Oh, to waive the 3, I apologize, honey. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule for resolution number 24R70. Thank you.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes. I'd also like to mention that our old units are 12 years old, and these, we really need them badly, because they will not be serviced, those that are 12 years old will not be serviced after 2025, and that's next year's bids. So we really need them. I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution number 24R70.
Second. We have a first and a second.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R71, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with Sun Life for New Franklin's health insurance plan with Cornerstone Benefit Services as broker and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 24R71.
Second?
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Mr. Powell?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution number 24R71.
Second?
We have a first and a second, Kelly.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes. Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R72, Kelly.
A resolution to contract with GPD Group as engineers for New Franklin for 2025 and 2026, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with GPD Group for engineering services and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was brought before Community Development Committee. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3.
Second.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 24-R-72.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes. Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R73, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with Sumacare for New Franklin's health insurance plan with Cornerstone Benefit Services as broker and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 24R73.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 24R73.
Second?
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R74, Kelly.
A resolution ratifying an amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Local 2885 of the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC, IAFF Union, and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Safety Committee. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 24R74.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R75, Kelly.
A resolution to contract with OHM Advisors as engineers for New Franklin for 2025 and 2026, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with OHM Advisors for engineering services and declaring an emergency.
This was brought before Community Development Committee, and I'd like to make a motion to waive the three.
Okay, first and a second?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 24-R-75.
Second.
We have a first and a second?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R76, Kelly?
A resolution ratifying an amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, patrol/corporal, and sergeant/lieutenant units, and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was brought before the Safety Committee. I make a motion that we waive the three.
Second.
We have a first and a second?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt
Second.
Resolution 24R76.
Second. Somebody.
We have a first and a second?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R77, Kelly?
A resolution ratifying an amendment to the 3-year labor agreement between the City of New Franklin and Local 348 of the Teamsters Union and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was brought in front of the Streets and Drainage Committee. I make a motion to waive the 3 readings.
I second that.
We have a first and a second?
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 24R77.
Second. I'm second.
We have a
All
first and a
right.
second?
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R78, Kelly?
A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We move to waive the 3 readings on Resolution 24R78.
Second. We have a first and a second?
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
We move to adopt Resolution 24R78.
Second.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes. Resolution passes 7-0. Resolution 24R79, Kelly?
A resolution approving and adopting the 2025 annual operating appropriation budget for the general fund and all other funds for the City of New Franklin, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We'd like to ask for time on Resolution 24R79.
Time is requested, time is granted. Resolution 24R80, Kelly?
A resolution awarding a bid to Carvo Companies Incorporated for the City of New Franklin Brill Road Bridge Project, and declaring that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
This resolution was assigned to the Streets and Drainage Committee. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3.
Second.
We have a first and a second?
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I motion to adopt resolution number 24R80.
Second.
We have a first and a second?
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0. That finishes up all of our first reads. Our second reading, Resolution 24R67, Kelly?
A resolution continuing the appointment of Irving Sugarman as new Franklin Law Director, setting compensation and declaring an emergency.
This resolution is assigned to the Finance Committee. We'd like to waive the third reading on Resolution 24R67.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes?
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Abstain.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
We have a tradition within council that if any member of council requests, would like to take more time on a resolution, we give them that opportunity. Would you like to take more time on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We did the waive, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, so now, yeah, so it's my turn again. So we move to adopt Resolution 24R67.
Second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes?
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Abstain.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Almond?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-1. That ends our consent agenda. There's no third readings, no pending legislation. On to our favorite part, the mayor's report.
Mayor's reports. All right, well, we've got a lot of business, so I don't have a whole lot of comments. The board openings, we have had some, it's been on our website. I've written about it a couple of times. We have received some. I think our deadline is Friday. So I'll see what we have by the end of the week, and I'll forward it out to council. And then we can have some consideration of, how you want to proceed at that point. I may have some recommendations, at least what my thoughts are on that when I send it to you, and you decide if you want to. I can tell you that I think you know everybody who's applied. So you may, whether or not you're going to need to interview them, I'll leave that to discretion to you guys. We're having ongoing meetings with two of these. Our big grant projects, our big projects, the sewer project on 93 and the water project that's going to go over to the visitor center, St. Luke's, and the event center. It is relatively complex because it's federal money. We're dealing with the environmental review. I had teams meetings with both on both of those today. The first of those involves all the gentleman from sanitary sewer. And the young lady from Arcadis who's leading us on the NEPA review. And we have Josh Slaga and Tony from OHM who are assisting us with the work plan. So I won't go into details. I'm just telling you there's a lot of details. But it's moving along at a nice pace. And the idea is to keep it moving along. We're probably going to be going out for bid before the end of the year on this. And it's an aqua project, and the aqua part of it, the water part of it, I guess, if I skipped over, let me focus on that part of it. That one is a little bit more time sensitive because of the timeline that the ODNR has as to breaking ground and building that event center. So they want really the water to be in the ground by May. And I think we're on course to do that. Because the city of New Franklin was a recipient of the federal grant, we then are responsible for the bidding. And eventually we will sign the contract. And so I will have for you at the next meeting a resolution authorizing us to go out for bid. We'll have included in that a memorandum of understanding or something even a little bit more concrete with Aqua. And the understanding at this point in time is that anything over the essentially, we look for grant funds to cover all the costs. So we don't see any money coming out of general fund for this. This is a reimbursement grant, so we will have to expend the funds from the city, but then we'll be reimbursed through the federal money. The good news for us is that we have $3.8 million in state money that we're allowed to use for sewer and water. And so we're going to be able to make the expenditures out of those funds. And then they'll be and then we'll recoup those from the federal grant. And then ultimately, those funds will go towards what will be the second phase of the sewer project. As it relates to the sewer project, we're trying to move that along as quickly as we can because we want to get sewer in the ground because we have people that are interested in that happening and have indicated their interest in development, which the city sorely needs. On that one, timeline's a little bit slower, but probably we're going to be going out for bidding and as some of you who sit up there know this, that it so happens this is a good time to bid because this is when the contractors are lining up their work for the coming year. And so we have a better chance of more bidders and a better chance of lower bidders. And that's what's expressed to me today by the people who do this for a living. So I'm not speaking from my personal experience on that. So for that purpose, as soon as, in fact, we've got another team's meeting tomorrow on that one to make sure the final plans are in place and the cost estimates are in place so that they can get that in shape to go out for bidding. That is probably, at least a $3 million project. We have a $3 million grant. We have the $3.8 million that we can use towards any deficiency. Again, there'll be no anticipation of any funds coming out of general fund for this. I'm talking to the county, and we think county will have some investment in this as well, although they've declared a separate $3.5 million for phase 2 of the project. So that one's moving along. We may be able to bid that one even before the first of the year, at least get the bids out so that we can take advantage of the fact that it's that time of year. Again, the grant money, the $3 million, is coming to the city of New Franklin. We are the grantee. Therefore, we are responsible for the bidding on this. This is one of the reasons we engaged, if not the primary reason, we engaged OHM to assist us in all of that process. A preliminary process to that is the assembly of what the federal EPA calls their work plan, which requires project description, project narrative, a budget narrative, timeline, and 3 or 4 other components that are beyond my ken, but it's not beyond theirs. So we have them working with us on that. But again, we will be the bidders on that. I'll have a resolution for you on that as soon as we're in a position. I would hope at least by the second meeting in December. I don't think it'll be ready for the first meeting in December so that we can possibly get those bids out before the end of the year or the beginning of the next year. Once again, that's a reimbursement grant. And so we will use the $3.8 million to do the funding on it and then recoup those funds from the federal government, from the STAG grant, as we make the expenditures. So we come out whole. We don't use general fund money. There's no assessments anywhere on anybody. So that's taken up a lot of time and a lot of effort, but we're moving those 2 parallel trains down the track and good things for the city. We are expecting a presentation from OHM, and we engaged them, you recall, to assist us in planning for our Sisler complex. They've really done a nice job. We've had some preliminary meetings with them, and they're going to come back with, based on those discussions, 2 different alternatives. We got them on board, really, for the walking trail. And then while we were at it, we said, well, maybe you can expand this, and they have, without additional cost to us, to really look at the entire complex and what it might be and what some of the wish lists might be. And so what we're going to end up seeing is a really beautiful recreation complex. There are going to be 2 options for the track. One is going to be, it'll stay on our property and it would probably go right inside the tennis courts. The other would extend on the school property. We've talked to the schools. They're on board with that if that's the option that we end up choosing. There's provisions in there for batting cages, really nice playground equipment, concrete walkways, lighting, none of which we're saying we want to do necessarily, but they said, hey, listen, here's what it can look like if you want it to look like this. And this may turn out to be a project that we do in stages. But the next step will be, once we get this fine-tuned, we'll have a public hearing on this, similar to what we did during the comprehensive plan. And we'll have some poster boards, and we'll have some renditions, and we'll allow people to talk to us about how do you like it, what do you like, what don't you like, how would you prioritize this, what would you like to see first, what would you like to see second, and so that we can eventually, it's really a prime piece of property, and we've got really good recreation up there already, so let's try to make that our city recreational park. All of the funds, at least in my view, would come through the parks. And whatever grants we're able to obtain, which I think once you have a concrete, well-drawn plan like this with real cost estimates, which are staggering to do the whole thing. So sit down when you see them. But it helps people understand why we're not doing everything like right now. Okay? But when you have those kind of things, it makes it a lot easier to get grants, as opposed to say we need $300,000 for this. Here's what it's going to look like. The fact that a lot of grant money's already been provided over there through ODNR is a big plus, because they like to improve what they've already started. So we'll keep you posted on that. And sort of to dovetail on that, we had the parks meeting last night. We went through the financials. And I'll just give you two highlights, and I'll send you. I did not do this, but I will. I'll send you a copy of what we produced, what we presented to the parks last night. And what you'll see is that basically, through a lot of hard work from a lot of different people, Judy and others, the revenues from all of our events exceeded $50,000, and the cost of our events, once we add Christmas on there, are going to be around $37,000. So we actually operated at about a $14,000 or $15,000 in the black. Our insurance is about $15,000, and our utilities are about $300. So we're very, very close, if not right on, the Tudor House paying for itself. And what that means is that the balance, virtually all of the parks budget, and $100,000 of that goes in every year, $200,000 goes in every year from the income tax, is spent on the parks. And there was some confusion about that at one point in time with some people that seemed to think that the Tudor House was eating up 47% of the parks money. Well, it's just not true. So we're real happy about where it's at. We've got $100,000 set aside for capital improvements at the parks this year, which we've been doing every year. And we will still have a carryover somewhere in the range of $130,000 or $40,000 up to maybe $180,000 or $90,000 to go into next year with. So we're in a good, healthy position with the parks. And that's all I got.
Finance report?
Just wanted to briefly touch on the budget, as you all have all your paperwork for that. If you do have any questions, aside from what I gave you in the email when I sent it, please let me know. I'd be happy to sit down or go over it over the phone or whatever you need. As you can see from those of you who are familiar with the previous budget, we have trimmed down hospitalization. We've trimmed up in a lot of places to get it to where we actually should have a decent carryover without cutting services anywhere. So I don't use that term as carryover for that balance, because basically, obviously, we don't have the actual year-end balances. We won't have that until the end of January. But at least puts us in a good position as it is with our appropriation budget. So please, if you do have any questions, let me know. Come see me, call me, what have you. I think the people that from council that were there understand the process pretty well, and it's been a little challenging. We didn't know where we were going to land on health care when we first did it, but it worked out a lot better, and we're really happy with the way that was handled. Other than that, we're just getting ready for our year-end wind down and wind up for the new year. So we're going to be busy doing all of our reports through December and January. So we'll be hooking. Other than that, that's all I have.
All right, do we have any old business? One thing I wanted to bring up is we kind of touched on this earlier in the fall, was the first meeting of the year, which is our organizational meeting. We've got 2 more meetings this year until we're into next year. What do you guys want to do with the New Year's Day meeting? Do you want to move that to the next day, Thursday?
Yes, that would be nice.
I think we spoke of this already, I think there was a general consensus, so
I don't think
we didn't agree on it, but there was a
Yeah,
consensus.
so that's why I think hopefully, it'll be either today or the next meeting, try to get that nailed down, so at least we can get that out and people know that our meeting will actually be on that Thursday the 2nd.
Yeah, I'm good with it being the second, because it's close to the, I mean, obviously it's not New Year's, I'll show up.
I'm just saying, if we push it to the next
Yeah.
week, well, then we got back-to-back, back-to-back weeks with meetings.
That's what, it's good, it's close, and it's good to work regularly, it's scheduled,
So
so
you're good with the 2nd?
I'm good with it.
Greg?
Yes.
With me.
Okay. Jude?
Okay.
Gary? Jim?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, so we'll move that meeting to the 2nd of January, which is Thursday.
By then, we'll probably have the new year.
All right, any other old business? All right, anybody have new business? One of the things I wanted to ask was, the last few years, we've done a Christmas light contest. Are we doing that again this year?
Absolutely.
All right, and I will put something out again like I did last year, where I'll have people contact me with addresses. And I'll get that to the police folk.
Beautiful.
They can drive around and make judgments.
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
Oh, and since you mentioned Christmas, I should mention we're looking for donations for our Christmas fund. And what we've been doing for a number of years here is trying to provide for at least 2 families from each of the 4 school districts for New Franklin residents. And we were able to do that most generously last year. And so we're looking to next Friday for donations. Because the city itself cannot make those donations to these families, it has to go through a private individual, and Katie Smith has been cordial enough to be that person. So checks, the cash will receipt you out, checks payable to Catherine with a K Smith, and you'll get a receipt for that as well. And we're going to try to raise, I think we raised $4,000 last year.
Paul, have you closed out for the Thanksgiving, the donations for that, or can people still contribute to that if they want to?
We didn't have a specific Thanksgiving fund.
Oh, I thought we did.
No.
I think they did the Philip Cruiser.
Okay.
Yeah, the Philip Cruz is coming. I will tell you that we had, I'll just keep you guessing, but we had one of our really active residents who's on a couple different boards here. Came in with donations of 4 gift cards, $250 each, for Thanksgiving. And what we have done with these historically, and we're doing again, is we find that the schools are generally in the best position to know who might be in the most need. And so we reach out to, again, with this person's consent, we're reaching out to the 4 school districts and asking them who might be of need. And there's a $250 gift card from, I can't remember whether it's Acme or Giant Eagle, for people to have a good Thanksgiving. So that's going on, and if anybody feels similarly inclined, feel free to. I think the best way to do that is gift cards. That way it's not money into the city and money out of the city, but we would distribute it the same way.
One of the other things I had under new business is our Tudor House Christmas.
December 8th. Wrote about that today. You'll see it on the Mayor's Post. But that's Sunday, December 8th, noon to 4.
2 to 4, or 2 to 5.
2 to 5. That's what I said.
Here. Thank goodness she's here.
That's my shit. See what I mean? I mean, really.
I don't want everybody coming.
No. Yeah, so we got all the choirs that were there before are coming to Mayor's house. Julie's in charge of the cookies. She'll have all the cookies. The house got decorated today, the first floor, so the first floor will be open for people. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be there. And a variety of other activities. So that's really turned into another really nice event. So Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and thanks for Brian for pushing that out on the other publications as well. Any other new business?
There's a coat drive during the Christmas holiday.
Glad you mentioned that one. Yes, this year, the Haven Arrest reached out to local mayors and invited us down for individualized tours to get an idea of what they do down there. And they're an amazing organization. I can't. Their annual budget is, I can't remember, 20 million. It's a crazy number. They feed upwards of 300 people a day. They have housing for families. They have housing for women and children. They have 180-day programs for people that are trying to get back on their feet. And they talk about the people that have come through there are not just Skid Row people that wander in from under the bridge. There's attorneys and engineers and doctors and teachers whose life went south and they couldn't put them back together. And on top of everything else, it's a deeply, which I didn't know, deeply spiritual-based program. So individuals have to make a commitment to this 180 days, and we got to meet a bunch of them, and it's just an amazing facility. They'd be happy that if anybody else wants to take a tour, they'd love to have you. But one of the rooms that they had, huge rooms, a clothing room, and they allow people to come in. And I think last year, they gave away over 3,000 winter coats. So they're looking for winter coats. So we said, they offered that maybe we make that, an opportunity for people to do that. So thanks again for that reminder as well. If you got new or gently used winter coats, if you bring them over there on December 8th, we'll make sure they get down there to the Haven and go to good use.
One thing that I attended earlier this week was put on by the Salvation Army. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it or not, but their emergency response program they have. They came and they talked about the kettles and what they fund with that, some of the stuff they fund. They have a really amazing program where if we get into a long event, a long emergency type event, whatever that may be, there's a number you can call. It's the gentleman gave it to us. And they respond with whatever we need, whether it's food for first responders, clothing, whatever that is. They've got this whole resource vehicle they bring out that's fully staffed as well, which is just another great, I wasn't aware they were to that extent. It's actually pretty amazing.
Both of those organizations would be places that if you want to donate even money, you can, because they can buy so much more with their networking than what we would be able to do.
I know they ring the bells at Bueller's, and they ring the bells at Acme. I don't know if there's anywhere in the city where they ring the bells, but boy, if they did.
Why don't we invite them?
I could just picture, council out there.
Could we invite them to the Tudor House
I
thing
would love to do
on
that.
the 8th?
Why not? Why not?
There's something-
Let's see what they know. Why not? Yeah. Yeah, why not? Sure.
Yeah, we can take care.
What do you think, Judy? Yeah, Judy.
I got volunteers.
We got room for her, all right. She's got volunteer. That'd be fun. No, that'd be fun. Yeah, and we can take turns with it.
I got to bring the bell.
Yeah, we'd all do it. We would love it.
Okay. All right.
And if we don't have enough on our calendar already, remember tomorrow evening is Burgers and Badges at McDonald's on Manchester Road.
And we all have to go there for something.
Raising money for Shop with a Cop from 4 to 8 p.m. Our police officers will not be issuing speeding tickets. They will be at McDonald's tomorrow. No, that's that big amount right now. But please, speed on over to McDonald's and make donations.
Thanks, Jim. Any other new business?
4 to 8 p.m., Jim?
Yes.
And they will also take checks right to the FOP in lieu of.
In lieu of.
If you can't make it to McDonald's.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, we'll close out new business. We're going back into public questions and answers. If anybody has anything that's raised their curiosity during the meeting. Anybody?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I've never done this before. You had mentioned the Aqua project.
Yes.
I remember a while back, we live over in, up on Pamela, and there was an opportunity that if we were interested in tying in, we would respond, and then they would let us know if that was something that we could do. Where would I find how that turned out?
I can tell you, I don't know if there was ever a formal solicitation up there. I know there were people that were interested.
Okay.
We've had a couple in the city that Aqua doesn't manage it, they provide the resources and tell us what they need, and basically what we need, it's a door-to-door, and how many people would tie in if they brought the water. When we did this, it's been a few years, I know it was at least 60 or 65% they wanted to make sure they were customers. And if they were, then they would, they'd go to the expense of extending the lines. So the way they explained it to us, and I know we did it over in the YM area. We had people that were interested and we had a meeting here and the Aqua people said, hey, we need a leader,
Called the champion.
Yeah, champion.
Project champion.
Yeah, to sort of take on and start either circulating or find additional people to circulate and be able to explain what it's going to be, what the cost would be, and are you interested? So that the opportunity's still there.
Yeah, I spoke with some residents over in that Penn Oak area that they had some well issues, if you remember. And they were pushing for that project. And I think it was that 60% range. But then when they say you got to commit, they want a deposit up front from each person that wants to be part of that. And so there's a contract you sign and everything else. But we can probably dig that information up or put them in touch with somebody else.
Yeah.
Two things real quick, if you could provide your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica Berry, BAHRY. It's 5009 Pamela Drive.
Thank you.
And then you can go to cityofnewfranklin.org, go to our website under services and then water. Scroll down to eligible customers and there's a spot there where you can connect or submitting your contact information if you don't live on the water and you want the water to come to you. So as a good start.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anybody
You bet.
else with any questions, comments? Seeing nobody, we'll close.
Hey, I want to say we engaged Barry and Associates for the new floor in our back room. It's a very small project for them, but they did, as usual, just a top-notch job.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, so we appreciate that.
All right, we've got a need for executive session, if I recall correctly, and it's going to be to consider the employment of a public employee or official. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
Second.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the topic?
So it's going to be to consider the employment of a public employee or official. We have a first and a second.
The first
Kevin?
and the second.
Judy.
Thank you.
Hey, before you vote, I would, you asked me to invite the fire chief and assistant chief into the executive
Yes,
session.
we invite both the assistant chief and chief into the. We need to take
You vote.
You can do the roll call.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, please.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Ready?